And tell us a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
about what it sounded like, what your parents' family environment was, what it was like to be you, and the sounds that were around you, the tech and all that good stuff.
Yeah, man, most definitely. It's crazy you said that because I can remember vividly. Still, the same song today still has a huge impact on me. Phil Collins, "In the Air Tonight." I remember being 5 years old, and my dad played it on repeat, man, repeat. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, this sounds amazing, right? So that was like the first like into the '80s type of a style of rock, the ballads that I had first heard. Then going up from that, and it's crazy because I remember my mom was a fan of this group, and she bought me their tape, and it was New Kids on the Block. Go
Mm.
figure, 1990, 91. You know, so I had that. But then when I got to be about like 13 or 14, my taste of music really,
Before we
really
get
changed.
into that, let's stay when you're young a bit, because there's usually some good nuggets that we can extract and nobody else gonna ask you about. So when you're like 5, are you like in like a musical kind of life? So your parents is bumping music, but does that mean you're like a 5-year-old doing all kinds of dances and stuff? Are you into that kind of
No,
world?
No, I was actually all into athletics. They had me. I was very gifted athletically. So,
Mm.
but wanting to be able to sing, I've always wanted to do that from that point. I can remember that. I can remember saying in my head, "This is what I want to do when I grow up." Right, and at 5 years old, you don't really. It's a dream to you, but at that same time, it's something that really piqued your interest. That just is like,
Mm.
and it sat, it resonated. And with that song in particular, with Phil Collins, the way his vocals were, man, like it wasn't the sound of like the tone that he was singing in, it was the emotion that you can feel. That for me, I remember that. It's just like, okay, you're able to move people, and me being a child, you're able to move not just me as a child, but my parents who were adults, right? You're able to move people with your words. And that right there is what hooks me. Like that. It's like I want to be able to do that. If I can do that, I can do something that can change shit. You know,
Yo, it's nifty that you bring that song up, because if I listen to your most recent stuff, you can kind of hear that influence of that very track in the sound that you're fucking with right now.
uh,
So that's super nifty, and that sounds amazing. Um, all
thank you.
right, so you were what kind of athletics were you into when you were young?
I was in, man, they had me in everything. I was into soccer, baseball. I was very much into it. I was really good at it. Um, Basketball. I played any sport that you can name. I competed swimming. I competed in track. I competed in everything athletically. That's what I invested my time into because they wanted to always keep me busy. Keep me busy. You stay out of trouble. You stay busy. You're out of trouble. And if you're good at athletics down in the U.S., of course, you can get a college scholarship to go play. If you're good enough, you'll be able to get school paid. So that was always drilled into me was, hey, you need to try and do something, blah, blah, blah. But still at the same point, it was like in the meantime, like I would always, as a kid, man, I would sit there and I would be in my room by myself, just having music on. I wouldn't be outside running around, playing around, doing stuff like that. I was very creative. I was always drawing. I was
Ooh.
always painting, or I always had music going. That was prevalent. But athletics was the main thing at that point in time that had taken over was athletics.
That's cool that you were drawing and painting, because believe it or not, before we moved on, I was gonna bring it back to that, because graffiti's part of the element, so it's kind of like attached to drawing. So I think it's
Right.
cool. So yeah, you. What would you listen to while drawing when you were young? Like, what is a vibe like? What kind of stuff did you
I
draw?
back well, when I was young, specifically drawing more. That's like when more of the '90s, early '90s alternative grunge came about. So you had a lot of Silverchair, you had a lot of Alice in Chains. Nirvana was coming out on the scene huge. Red Hot Chili Peppers at the time. So I loved a lot of that. I also loved blues music. Like I would have Stevie Ray Vaughan at any point in time. I could listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan play any day, sing any day. There was something about his vocals, and but I would always have something that was like just good tempo, man, upbeat, because that's the type of mood when I was drawing and painting in that I was always in. I was not, if I was ever sad, I wouldn't be drawing, I wouldn't be painting. Like that's just me. When I'm in that way, I don't like to create. I try to just get that done with. So I always try to keep positive type of influence, man, because that affects my mood. If I put something on negative, I'm gonna feel negative after a while.
Mm. All right, so that sounds like off the jump you have a very artistic background, but you're also getting a lot of discipline and like learning how to deal with people through sports that are coming into the equation right away.
Yeah.
So, what happens when you get to adolescence? You said you got a more defined taste of music. What do you remember? Like the first song where it, like went from like, okay, this sounds good. My parents are bumping this to, yo, this my favorite song.
Yeah, I can remember that vividly. I remember I had a guy that was he was an assistant coach, and I was 13, and he gave me All Eyes on Me 2-part CD Tupac, right?
Okay.
And at the time I wasn't listening to rap. I remember vividly putting on that very first track. Actually, the one that I listened to was All Eyes on Me, and I was hooked. I was hooked. I had never in my life heard somebody that was lyrically able to put words in such a way that was poetry, that was just painting a picture that was so vivid. You didn't even have to have somebody explain. It was just there. And you could feel what he was talking about. I memorized that entire CD, front to back, word to word, man. I was hooked because I was just like, how does he do this? How does he do this? And then on the flip side of that, that's when I was also introduced to Led Zeppelin and Jim Morrison and the Doors. And that, and I even more so later on in my life when I meet my wife, who's my wife now, she had a huge influence on my being around her. But Led Zeppelin, hearing the Stairway to Heaven for the first time, or Dazed and Confused. It was just like, dude, how these guys make these guitars sing to you without having to sing a lyric to you. The guitars are singing. Jimmy Page is making it well, but then you have the vocals. It's like Robert Plant, man. There's not going to be another Robert Plant. There's not going to be another Jim Morrison. And this is pre-auto-tune days, before they're using auto-tune. So when you hear this rawness of these vocals and just the power and the soul of it, and you're just like, man, and always wanting to do music, that's stuck in my head. It's just like, okay, how can I do this? Like, how could I learn how to start doing this? And for me, I literally would used to sit there and sing every song word for word with it, man. No matter if it was off tone or not, because you're not going to hit these notes. But the fact is just doing it because it was putting it into my head. This is what I want to do, right? And that was 13, man, 13 years old. And then 14, I was literally in the studio for the first time. So a year later,
okay.
Studio.
So let's recap there. So you're like surrounded by music your whole life. You're already obsessed with this idea from like wanting to use your essence to convey that level of emotion to connect since you were like super young. And then you basically get into memorizing the shit out of other people's music that you feel is worth emulating, studying it, practicing it, going all out at like 13. And somehow this leads to how do you end up in a studio? How does that get you to a studio? I've heard a lot of people say shit like that, but to get to and a studio by 14, that's a little interesting.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and this is why I'm glad you had me on here beforehand, is freestyling's my gift. Freestyle rap is my gift. And I remember at 14, I was riding bikes with my best friend at the time. We just started freestyling back and forth. And he was like, man, he's like, you got a gift with this. He's like, you have a gift with this. Because I was able to retain words in my head, wasn't repeating anybody's stuff, not copying anybody's words, not copying any of their stuff, but learning how to. I remember, man, to take it back a little bit before that, my mom used to have me read a dictionary every day. Every day. She'd be like, you're going to read this dictionary. And I would be like, okay, whatever. That played into my freestyle abilities later on. I had such a wide variety. Yep.
You legit read the dictionary.
Yeah, not by choice. Not by choice.
Okay.
Not by choice. It was more like punishment, man. She would be like, oh, you're going to act like this. You're going to go to your room and read the dictionary. And that's what I'm not kidding. But now I look at it and I'm like, I thank you. Like,
yeah, that's amazing. See, that's why we do this. Because, like, at the end of the day, anyone could talk about, like, my current project is this. And people do that shit a lot. And obviously people talk about that. But that's like 6 minutes max. I guarantee you. Nobody stretched that more than 8 minutes in any interview I've done. But then I realized everybody likes hearing about 5-year-olds drawing. I don't know why, but everybody loves that shit. And people like reminiscing about high school. I don't know. We're all old,
Yep.
whatever. It is what it is. So it's like hearing you go through these experiences and be like, yo, you bicycling and fucking busting freestyles with your friend, and like that's fucking cool. Like that's the story.
That's how it started, man. Like that's how it started. And at the time, my best friend, his cousins down in the area I were in, they were really big in the rap scene. And they got co-signed by Chamillionaire and Paul Wall, who are really big down here. So they were doing things and they had studios. And he took me over there, man. And he was like, hey, I got this guy. He's super dope. And I remember, man, you want to talk about nervous? Like, that's the thing. I don't ever bullshit. Like, I'm very honest and very blunt with who I am. And like, I would be lying to you if I told you that I wasn't scared shitless going in there for the first time, right? I'm 14. I have all these guys that are 19, 20, 22, 23, have been doing this. This is what they do. And then I'm in there for the first time. And like, at that moment, it was like, you have one or two options, man. You can fuck this up and sit there and go, this is what you wanted, and you choked. Or you could put this aside and say, okay, do what you know you do and just put everything into it. And that's what I did. Now, was it the best freestyle or shit that I laid down? No, but what they heard was they felt the energy. They said, that, what you did right there, they said, there's something special about that. They said, we'll work with you, start learning, you start practicing doing your own stuff. And that's when it started, 14 years old, getting that first taste of being in there. Hooked, man. Hooked.
Yo, that's big. And I like that you said that it didn't really matter that it wasn't the best freestyle, but it was the energy and the passion that you put forth.
Yep.